All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Madness University. I'm Nick. I'm here with LZ as usual. And this one is a question we get asked a lot. The episode's going to be about 90s junk wax in quotes.
Mm.
I junk wax is a little derogatory, but we're going to talk about 90s cards and for the most part, why they aren't worth anything. All that stuff we saved as kids. So, LZ, you wanted to kick this one off.
Yes, thank you, Nick. It is called junk wax. It really comes down why is it not worth as much as we all thought it was when we were growing up and we were putting these in the screw down cases, which is terrible unto its own. Um, and then fast forward 20 years, we looked them up and then they're worth crap. It comes down to just them being completely overproduced. Millions of them every year. And it wasn't even if you for those that grew up in the 90s, if you recall too, it wasn't like there was just one or two big players in the space. There was Tops, there was Upper Deck, there was Bowman, there was Leaf, there was Skybox. I mean, it just went on and on and on and on and on with the amount of companies that were jumping into the space. I'm sure I just missed a bunch of them. So I think there's that. I think the other thing that we all need to realize is when you were going to the store with your parents as a kid, it was like every store carried trading cards. It wasn't just like the local hobby shop. Um, you had them at department stores, you had them at pharmacies, you had them at convenience stores. You could buy an entire set. I remember every single Christmas, I would ask my grandmother if she could buy me like the latest Tops baseball series box, the entire set. And what do I have? I have every one of them up in my attic because these are going to be worth so much money. But every one of us did that. Every single one of us has these boxes. So that entire box, it's like worth 20 bucks. I thought it was going to be worth thousands when I was a kid. So it really comes down to just being overproduced. I mean, the one example I'll give too is in the 90s, early 90s, we were all chasing that Ken Griffey rookie card, right? We all had the Ken Griffey rookie card, everybody. We all had it. I mean, maybe some of us didn't, but many of us did. It's not like today with one of ones and low pops and, a pop of 50, a pop of 100. Everybody had that Ken Griffey rookie card. So completely overproduced. So that really is the main reason why. Nick, what do you want to cover here?
Yeah, I do want to say that there are exceptions to this, like everything, but just for comparison purposes. So there are millions, like that Ken Griffey card, I believe it was over a million that were printed. Just for some comps here, the 86 Fleer Jordan, I believe, is around 250,000. Even that was somewhat mass produced,
Hmm.
but it's like a quarter. And I'm probably wrong. It could be 3 million Griffies. So there are some exceptions here. One of them is there's a Frank Thomas error card that in a good grade or signed by him, because I know he's fussy about signing it. That could be bonkers. There's the Billy Ripken card where he says, bleep face on the bat. And
Hmm.
that card's worth a few $100 in a good grade. And there are exceptions like that. That Griffey card in a PSA 10 may actually be worth a little bit. But the odds are you probably didn't keep it in that condition. So I know me and LZ harp on this all the time. What I would do with those sets, I actually gave this advice to a fan that came on the pod, take those cards out and just spend a weekend with your son, get every Hall of Famer out of there. Right. Your Roger Clemens, your Wade Boggs, your Griffeys, whatever. Find out who's signing autographs. And if the card's in decent shape, get it signed. Don't take for granted that they're A, still signing, that they're B, still signing cards and not like on some weird exclusive contract, and C, still alive and with us. Don't take any of those three things for granted and get the cards signed. If they're a Hall of Fame, that's pretty cool. And now it's like a card you had when you were younger. That's cool. Now you've gotten that signed. Like I've done this with my Garbage Pail Kids cards that were wicked overproduced, but now they're signed by the artist. And it was like my card that I had when I was 6. It's pretty awesome. So I love that. It's part of my PC and everything. So just find a way to like, you know, make make lemonade out of lemons. But I will say this, if you've got like a garage of these, you might have a couple grand of these sets, like if you've got set after set after set and just pack after pack after pack, you could call up some dealer that you meet at a show, just do like, dude, I got this in bulk, call up a shop. You might have some pizza money. But you're not sitting on a $10 million, 52 mantle or anything like that.
No,
That's for sure.
no, unfortunately, no. I just experienced this last weekend. My mother is starting to sell things on eBay, right? And she's starting to set up a side business. Good for her, right? And she came into some 90s junk wax cards. She's like, "Oh, I need to buy these because, my son can take a look at them." So I spent an hour going through this big bag of junk wax that she bought. And like we recommended, and Nick just said, right, sort it. So I sorted it by the Hall of Famers. And there was, I don't know, let's call it like within the whole box, there was like 15 Hall of Famers. I'm like, okay, great. Looked them up on eBay. Like we're talking like Gretzky. There were some good hockey cards, like Gretzky, great. Lemieux, fantastic. Uh, they were all worth like $2.
$1.
$2, $2. But I asked my mom, hey, what did you pay for this entire lot of cards? And she said, oh, I think it was like $10. I'm like, well, you have 15 cards here that are each worth $2. So you turn $10 into $30.
Yeah.
So there you go. So that worked. So there is a bit of if you want to flip, right? If that's your angle. There is you can still turn a bit of a profit, but few and far between, everybody.
Yeah, I want to close this too with just some parting advice. If you've lived a little while, like we have, things happen and they repeat themselves. So we overproduced cards in the 90s, right? And right now we're sitting here and saying these cards are worth a couple bucks. Like this is mostly junk. So um, I'm willing to bet right now that there are more cards being printed than there were being printed in the 90s. Could be wrong, but I'm willing to bet. So just be careful with what you buy today. It may not be valuable down the road. That may not matter. And again, it's cool to like to buy this stuff, but just think about where you were or where me and LZ were in the 90s thinking about these cards, where you are now thinking about these cards
Mhm.
for your son and what you can do to mitigate that.
It's a good parting thought right there.
Cool.
It's a good way to end it, Nick.
All right. That's another episode of Madness U.